My 68 male, son 44, found out a couple of years ago that his wife had an affair and that their youngest son, Tim, tween, isn't his biologically. He was 6 years old at the time. He has two other children, Jacob, nearly adult male, and Eliza, young teen female, that are biologically his. Since then, he and his ex-wife have gotten a divorce, and he has partial custody over his two biological children, while his ex has full custody of the youngest. The youngest was, needless to say, devastated when the man he knew as a father suddenly stopped showing him any affection and said that he wasn't his father anymore. As far as I've observed, he still has a very anxious attachment style, and he's been in therapy for 3 years now. He has problems at school, and I'm pretty sure he's being bullied for it. His oldest son became distant with him after the divorce, and you can see pretty clearly that he's less affectionate with his father than he used to be. After a while, Jacob started asking me to help him with things that he would normally ask his father for, and he started coming over a lot more after school. Honestly, I'm pretty sure he has dinner with Grandma and Grandpa more often than he does with either of his parents. Tim still comes around to our house pretty often too. Since the divorce, I've noticed Eliza pulling away from her parents as well. A year or two after the divorce, she asked my wife to take her shopping for a Christmas dress, for example. She takes her grandma's advice over her mother's often, and Jacob decided to spend Mother's Day with my wife. It all came to a head in the past couple of weeks. First, it was Jacob's graduation. My wife and I were invited, and he ignored his dad the whole time. Then apparently, he posted a picture of me and him on Instagram with a caption that says something like, "Couldn't have done it all without the man who made me a man." After that, it was the fact that his Boy Scout troop does this canoeing trip over Father's Day weekend, and he invited me to come instead of his dad. My son complained that he barely has a relationship with his kids now, and he thinks I'm horning in on his role as their father. My wife reads all these psychology articles, and she says it's because after he dropped their little brother, his other two kids didn't trust him anymore, and they pre-abandoned him. My daughter thinks I should probably let the grandkids sort it out amongst themselves and stop giving them another option so they have no choice but to work things out. Am I the idiot? You are not the idiot. You're showing up as Tim's grandfather. As you say, the others have formed a bond with you because you've shown yourself reliable and unconditionally, which is what children need. Well done. As for your daughter's advice to effectively abandon the children now, to let them sort it out, why would you take such cruel advice when your instincts are loving and kind? That last part hits. She wants OP to abandon them as well, to force a relationship with the other person who abandoned their 10-year-old child sibling. In summary, we'll hurt you deliberately, so maybe you'll build a relationship with someone else who has hurt you similarly. This is a bad plan. Does she really think that'll work? Your daughter has incredible nerve to suggest that you abandon your grandchildren to try to manipulate them. Also, that's not how it works. If they already feel somewhat abandoned by their father, and then you abandon them, all you're teaching them is that father figures are unreliable and they shouldn't trust either of you. The idea that you can parent a child for 6 years and then switch off your love for them genuinely baffles me. Hate the mother, resent the mother, but that child is the same child that you bathed, dressed, cuddled, and cherished for 6 years. How can you switch that bond off for something the child had no part in? Next time your son complains about his kids preferring you over him, tell him he should have thought about the consequences before he decided to give the cold shoulder to a child, as if the 6 years of bonding with and raising him meant absolutely nothing. I wonder how the children feel about their mother. Well, since all of them seem to be spending all their time with their grandparents, and the daughter even asked the grandma's advice to take her dress shopping, it sounds like all the kids know both their parents to be unreliable. It appears you're just a caring and kind man. The last thing in the world these kids need is for grandma and grandpa to change the relationship that's already been established. If your son wants a better relationship with his kids, he must do the work. Suggest he try family counseling with his 3 kids to help them manage their feelings. Context: my mom is Thai and my dad is Dutch. I grew up in Thailand. My mom married again, and I have a stepsister who's 3 years older than me. My stepsister always says, "You have no idea how hard traveling is for us because you have a strong passport," whenever she's stressed about traveling. My family, me, my mom, stepsister, and stepdad, are currently planning a trip to Germany. They're in the process of applying for a Schengen visa. I think seeing me relaxing and unstressed about the whole thing grated on my sister, because I'm just chilling while they're running around getting flight tickets, proof of accommodation, statement of purpose, bank statements, travel health insurance, money for the visa fee, and a bunch more stuff. She finally snapped and was like, "Aren't you even going to try to be helpful? At least share the visa fee with us." I said no. I am financially contributing the same amount she is to the trip. The visa fee is just an added expense that she has that I don't. She was unhappy because I just don't get it, and kept telling me things would only be fair if I agreed to share that cost, at least. She's been giving me the cold shoulder since, because she thinks I'm a bit of an idiot. My mom would like me to apologize to her and agree to share the cost, at which point she would reimburse me just to keep the peace. Passport privilege? That's a new one. You are not the idiot. Stepsis is an idiot and sounds jealous of something that's not even within your control at all. And I wouldn't do as your mom is suggesting, as that just opens up the door to future manipulation. Have a great trip. Stepsister is not just an idiot, but an entitled, greedy idiot. She's the reason why we have that famous quote, "If you give an inch, they'll take a mile." Also, mom is the people-pleaser doormat who can't say no and always tells the victims to apologize and be the bigger person for peace within the family. Well, that's how entitled people end up entitled, enablers enabling them all the time. If the mom is willing to entertain the sister's dumb argument, then she should pay the fee. It's the mom, after all, who decided to have a daughter with a Dutchman. So, in this parallel universe the sister lives in, it really means the mom is responsible for this privilege and should compensate the sister. OP didn't do anything except exist while European. The mom technically chose to hand the privilege to one daughter and not the other, LOL. OP, you're not the favorite kid. Don't apologize. You did nothing wrong, and you don't owe her anything. I, 30 female, have 2 kids, a tween female and a teen male. 2 weeks ago, my husband and I traveled to another country on business. It lasted 3 days, and we stayed 4 more days and took our children with us. I told my mom and dad about the trip, and my dad commented that my brother, Toby, 25, really wanted to go there, and that I should ask him if he wanted to go. The idea seemed great to me, and I asked him if he wanted to go with us, but he said that he'd be able to pay for the tickets and hotel, but he wouldn't have any money to spend there, so he'd have to go next time. I thought to myself and talked to my husband. We proposed the idea of him being our children's nanny, and we would pay for the ticket, hotel, food, and any expenses he had there, within limits. The proposal would be, he would babysit my children for the 3 days we'd be working, but they'd have my car to do whatever they wanted. And at night, we would go out together for something to eat. And afterward, he would be free to do as he pleased, for we would be with them. We only requested 1 night on this trip for him to stay with our children, so that my husband and I could have a night alone. Well, he sent a LOL to my message and said he didn't need a favor with all those conditions and wasn't that desperate. It hurt me, I'll admit, but I've moved on and text blocked him. My other sister, 24, heard about the proposal from our parents and asked if this proposal would still be open for her. I said yes. Toby apparently had a change of heart because the day after my sister asked, he called me, saying he had thought it through, apologized, saying he felt embarrassed, and asked if he could still go under those conditions. I said that our sister had already agreed to go and that he missed the chance. Between him denying it and my sister offering it was 1 week. He wasn't happy, saying this was something between him and me, but that I couldn't wait to replace him with another relative, and that if I hadn't blocked him, I would have seen him apologize for being rude, and that he was embarrassed. This was actually true, but he could have called me or even come to the house to explain, and he didn't. But I said he couldn't offer them to me because my sister was already on board. The trip was great. My sister preferred this romantic night to be on her babysitting days, and for the last 4 days, she went to other places and some with us. To this day, my brother's upset with me and barely talks, but I don't think it's my fault. Am I the idiot? First come, first serve. Not the idiot for replacing him, but I'm confused why you blocked him. That seems extreme for the situation. Do you always block people when they don't agree with you or do what you want? It doesn't sound like he was abusive, but he just turned down your offer. It makes me think there's more to the story than what we're being told. Wow, everyone's the idiot here. His response was rude, but I'm truly confused as to why you would text block him. That's honestly so incredibly childish to me. He gave you his answer, and you could communicate and say, "Hey, that's a pretty rude response." My siblings have been rude to me before, but I wouldn't block them. I still want to chat with them. Honestly, I'm flabbergasted that you'd block his texts like, "Grow up, babes." If someone blocked me, I would interpret that as a permanent go away forever message. That said, you're not an idiot for giving the job to your sister. It sounds like she's better suited for the job, and it'll be a better fit. Man, it's not really that serious. Most people have more than one way to reach out. I'm 50, and I sometimes block someone for a day or two and then unblock them. They've never noticed. If they're stressing me out a lot, it's better for me to have peace and not to worry every time I hear a notification that it's something that might upset me. OP, he's salty because he turned down a great deal. Glad your sister went and had fun. And you didn't take it back. He said no. There isn't some mandatory waiting period after your brother said no. He said no, end of story. If so inclined and the occasion comes up, offer again, but there's no obligation to do so. Yesterday was boiling hot. I decided to go to the beach. Everyone was on board except for my middle son, young teen. He said he wanted to stay home. He said it was too hot to go outside. I said okay, and told him to call if anything happened and to keep his phone on him and answer if I checked on him. We left at 10 a.m. and drove to the beach, an hour away. We got there at 11 and stayed until 3. We then had a late lunch, early dinner because everyone was hungry. At this point, I called my son and asked if he was hungry. He asked when we would be home, and I said probably around 5. He said he wasn't that hungry. We got home at 5:30. My son asked when dinner would be, and I said probably 7. He said he was hungry, so I made him a snack. He sulked in the living room the entire time, and then after he ate, went and locked himself in his room. At dinner, he was still upset. His older brother asked why he was upset, and he said it was because we all had fun together without him and seemed happy he wasn't there. He also said we shouldn't have eaten without him. I said we had to eat because everyone was hungry after being in the hot sun and exercising, and he said he didn't want to go. He said we always have more fun when he isn't around, which I said wasn't true. Then he started arguing with his siblings, so I put a 20-minute quiet timer on the table. After dessert, he went and locked himself in his room again. He wouldn't talk to me when I was driving him to school. I feel bad, but I'm also unclear about what he wanted. Was I the idiot for letting him stay home? You are the idiot. At first glance, it looks like normal teenage behavior. However, the line, "everyone has more fun without," should spark some concern. It sounds like he could be depressed. Does his behavior show consistent change? Does he isolate himself from his family? Stay quiet most of the time? Talk with a quiet voice? Show aggressive behavior? It's just a teenage kid being dramatic. OP, you're not the idiot. Clearly, he didn't think you would actually go without him. LOL. And if you did force him to go, he probably would have made everyone miserable. He's a teen, so you can't hold it against him. But you must teach him that doing your own thing means doing your own thing, not that the group you're in changes its plans for you. Exactly. This is a very important growth moment for your child. He learned that the people in his life aren't going to be emotionally manipulated by him. They're going to take him at his word and aren't going to beg him to join in. He can participate or be lonely. This is how you prevent or stop narcissistic tendencies, which all kids have and grow out of as they mature and experience moments like this. You all are refusing to join him in the boat. That's good. I'm 26 female, getting married to my wonderful fiancé, 28 male, later this year. He's great, and our relationship has been as close to perfect as you can get, with the exception that his family disapproved of me at first. They're solidly upper-middle-class conservative, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. I grew up mostly in foster care because my birth family was screwed up big time. Plus, I'm military, so there's a big cultural difference. My fiancé's been good about wrangling them, and I thought they had finally settled down until this happened. When we got engaged, we floated the idea of just having a small family wedding at the chapel on base. But my fiancé is the eldest and only son, and his parents really wanted to throw a big white wedding. They offered to pay for everything and do most of the planning, and my fiancé asked if we could humor them this once. So I agreed. Soon-to-be mother-in-law wasn't happy with some of my choices, but my fiancé talked her down. The last straw was over inviting my father. Background: my dad was not a good person when I was a kid. He was also military and came back messed up in the head. My late mother also had issues, so I ended up in foster care. For a long time, I hated my dad, but one of his old unit mates wrote to me a few years ago and said that my dad had gotten himself together and just wanted me to know that he was sorry for everything that had happened and for not being there. We started talking, and I visited a couple of times. He's sober, in therapy, and goes to a veteran support group like clockwork. I understand better what happened to him, so we're not close, but he's my dad again, and he literally cried when I asked him to walk me down the aisle. My in-laws are firmly against this and said that he doesn't deserve to be there, and they can't believe I would even want him to be there. I think it has more to do with my dad clashing with their image. My soon-to-be father-in-law said that he would walk with me instead. It turned into a giant argument, so I pulled the plug on the wedding. If I'm not allowed to invite my dad, it's not happening. Fiancé and I'll get hitched on base, and the in-laws can come or not. My fiancé backs me up and is relieved that the big wedding is off, but he is having feelings about his family being upset and refusing to come to the small wedding. His parents are in an uproar because they've already sent out invitations and made deposits and things, so they may be out of some money and will be embarrassed by the cancellation. I feel bad if they're going to lose some deposits, but I'm also pretty mad at them. My dad wasn't the best dad, but it takes a lot to pull yourself out of a hole that deep, and I want him to have this. Not the idiot. It's your wedding, and they're most definitely overstepping. If you want your family there, do it. You made peace with your father, and your groom can have his family there. But bear in mind, if you marry this person, you'll have to deal with these people for the rest of your life. Think about whether you want that. Girl, it's your wedding. You control the guest list, and you control the bridal party and all that stuff. Future in-laws are throwing a wedding and inviting you. They just want you to show up at their dream wedding and say, I do. Here's the kicker. Father-in-law's decided your dad doesn't deserve to be there, but somehow feels he deserves the honor of walking you down the aisle? What the heck? You gave them a wake-up call that you'll not be a pushover. I 100% agree. Your in-laws sound pretentious, judgmental, and domineering. Be careful when the time comes for you to start a family, if you decide you want that, of course. I can see your in-laws interfering in how you raise your children. You're right to cancel the wedding. Discuss with your fiancé what a perfect wedding for the two of you would be, and go with that. I'm glad your fiancé supports you, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day with your dad there.